Thank you for joining us. We start with breaking news. About 1 hour ago, leaders with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board announced there's a person in jail after shots were fired at a park officer. Here's what we know so far. Park police say that late last night, one of their officers was investigating a vehicle that was illegally parked at the Lake Harriet boat launch. That's when police say a 24-year-old inside of the vehicle would not cooperate and fired a gun at the officer. The officer shot back, but nobody was hit.
It's an absolute miracle that nobody was killed in this incident. Like I said, I watched the body camera footage. There was an exchange of gunfire at a relatively short distance, and I'm extremely thankful that our officer is okay.
The man was later arrested nearby after running away from the scene. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a live look here at the U.S. House of Representatives. Right now, lawmakers are about to hold another vote for House Speaker. It comes after a tumultuous day on Capitol Hill yesterday. Today, the Republican nominee is Representative Mike Johnson. The vote comes less than 24 hours after Minnesota Representative Tom Emmer was named the nominee. He later pulled out of the running. For the vote to go through, Johnson will need to get at least 217 votes. Our chief political reporter, John Croman, was on Capitol Hill as we waited to hear what Representative Emmer planned to do. He tells us how it all happened from Washington, D.C.
Congressman Tom Emmer spent a few days in the national spotlight, but in the end could not win over his detractors, who thought he was not conservative enough to suit them or to suit former President Donald Trump. Going in, he had a lot of name recognition as the House Majority Whip and the former chair of the National Republican Congressional Committee. More recognition than the other 9 who were vying to be House Speaker. And he did win the nomination, but that's not the same as locking in the 217 votes from Republicans that he would need to win in a House vote. They say that one of the things that hurt Mr. Emmer was that he voted to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election back on January 6th. More recently, he rubbed some people the wrong way by voting for the continuing budget resolution that was needed to avoid a government shutdown. Now, Emmer could have taken this to the floor for a vote so that his opponents would have to go on the record, but in the end, he decided to just withdraw from the race.
Today, more signs that Representative Dean Phillips could enter his name in the presidential race. Take a look at this video taken in Ohio yesterday. What you're watching right now is a Dean Phillips for President bus. Phillips has until Friday to file his candidacy in New Hampshire. Well, we have even more news in our Decision 2024 coverage, including one state where President Biden will not be on the ballot. That's coming up in about 4 minutes. But first, this could be the best day to get outside before rain comes back. Ben, my hair appreciated the break, but when does it all start up again?
Well, looks like rain will be moving back in later this evening, likely just after dark around here in the metro and areas in southwestern Minnesota as early as late afternoon. A little wet heading into your Thursday, and then once we get into Friday and especially this weekend, the bottom drops out as far as the temperatures go. Today, a lot of cloud cover, but we're basically in between weather systems, so a mostly dry day today. Notice what's lurking over the Dakotas, especially north of Bismarck. Some heavy snow over the high plains states. Some parts of Minnesota will get in on that snow as we head into tonight and Friday, and even the potential at seeing some flakes flying around the Twin Cities metro sometime later this weekend. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. Overcast right now. We are going to see a lot of cloudiness today with temperatures holding pretty steady. Mid to upper 50s today, which is a little warmer than average. Temperatures are going to plummet this weekend. We'll talk about when a hard freeze returns to your forecast coming up. Alexis?
Ben, thank you so much. In about 6 hours, people who live in Minneapolis can let the city know their thoughts on Mayor Frey's recommendation 2024 city budget. Now, it's the first of 3 hearings on the proposed $1.8 billion plan. It includes a proposed tax levy that's more than 6%, which would mean homeowners would be paying $150 more in property taxes. The mayor also has 21% of the budget designated for police. The city council is reviewing the proposal. They will vote on adopting it in early December. Tonight's meeting is just after 6 at City Hall. Well, tonight, friends and family are doing what they can to continue the legacy of an up-and-coming Minneapolis musician who was shot and killed at his home nearly 6 months ago. Dave Velkovic, was also known on stage as Dave Velk, was a rapper and songwriter in the local music scene. The 32-year-old was shot and killed in the beginning of May. Before his death, Dave and a couple of his friends created co-hosted a monthly show featuring local musicians and comics. Tonight, some of those artists will be performing in Dave's memory at an event put on by Dave's friends and family.
As family and friends, in situations like this, we're usually, it's a powerless situation. It's a powerless feeling. But getting together with everybody, meeting friends of Dave's that I didn't know before from other areas of his life, I don't think we'll fail with this because everybody's very invested.
The event will be for Dave, and that will be at the Spring Street Tavern in Northeast Minneapolis tonight at 8. It costs $15, and all of the proceeds will go directly to seeking justice for Dave and keeping his legacy alive. The United Nations is warning that the healthcare system in Gaza could come to a halt as soon as today. The main concern is that the country will run out of fuel. Jay Gray shows us what that could mean.
Well, unfortunately, it does appear from reports inside Gaza that humanitarian aid and support is continuing to crumble there. The primary UN agency providing assistance and aid saying they'll be forced to halt operations today because of a lack of fuel. Right now, they are housing 600,000 in shelters. Those are people displaced within Gaza in 150 facilities. The U.S. military advising Israel to avoid an all-out ground assault right now, but Israel continues, it appears, to prepare another round of intense airstrikes overnight. And they are saying that they'll go in on their terms and on their time. It does look like they are preparing for tanks to roll into Gaza. Israel is blocking visas for UN officials now after the Secretary General of the UN called for a ceasefire and said there are, quote, clear violations of international law occurring in Gaza. And quickly on the hostage situation, more than 200 still being held inside of Gaza. Qatari acting as an intermediary and says that they are continuing negotiations and that those negotiations have been accelerated. They are talking often. They also say they're hopeful for a breakthrough that will provide a release of a number of hostages soon. That's the latest here in Tel Aviv. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
In a twist ahead of the next presidential primary, President Biden is not expected to be on the New Hampshire ballot. The Biden re-election campaign says the state is refusing to abide by new Democratic primary rules. The change eliminates New Hampshire and Iowa as the first two election nominating states. Instead, South Carolina will hold its first primary in a push for more influence from a more diverse state. And in the last 24 hours, we learned President Biden is coming to Minnesota. He'll be here 1 week from today. The White House says it will release details of the visit pretty soon. Minnesota is now one of multiple states suing the parent company of Facebook and Instagram for its ads targeting children. Still ahead, why the state leaders say those ads are harmful.